Good morning, coffee moaners. Welcome to Saturday morning in the basking sun. It's absolutely beautiful sunlight. Look at that. The golden glow glancing across one's face in a David Bowie-like zigzag. How is everyone? Good morning, everyone. Lovely to see you all chin-wagging and chatting with each other. How are things this morning? Hope you're well, Lynn Sheard, Cloda. Obviously, stay tuned to this channel because we are delivering top draw fun. I hate that word, top draw. Sausages are coming at 11. Don't know why. None of us can work out what's going on in this house. We don't really understand where it's come from, why we're obsessed or why we're even talking about them. But sausages are order of the day for the Curly Cooks at 11, which will be happening 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so after this. We're going to go through the papers. Oh, morning, Tori. How are you, sweetheart? Morning, Ellery. Morning, Sonia. Morning, one and all. Hope you're well. Mayboo, Lynn Sheard. Morning. Okay, so normally I take you through the front pages and we just go, oh, look what's happening on the front pages. But I'm not going to do that today. I just thought we'd just jump in with serious and we'll just move through to lightness. Ending with pictures, which for anyone listening on podcast is beyond frustrating because you just have to imagine what we're all talking about. So, big news this morning. Now, this story, as we often say, the papers are obviously slightly behind the news flow. Morning, Zoe. Morning, Steph. Israel have claimed to have killed the head of Hezbollah. But the front of the papers carried this: Israel's warning to Iran, as Israel ignores all kind of attempts to calm them down, though I don't know, sort of an attempt to calm someone down and then give them $8.7 billion worth of weaponry. Curious way to calm someone down. So Israel's warning to Iran looks like already, beyond the news headlines that I'm showing you, they've already, the IDF are saying this has happened. Israel is saying that they've successfully killed Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah. Now, of course, that has huge possible ramifications. Will this be the final chess move that Netanyahu has been, waiting to do? Is this the head of the snake, as he calls it, that once, decapitated? Is this going to trigger Iran into any kind of stronger action? Because at the moment, it looks like Israel are on the front foot. It looks like their pager attack completely baffled Hezbollah. It looks like there's total carnage there. More and more people being bombed, more and more innocents being displaced. No one can stop Netanyahu. He's off. He's gone, and they're claiming to have killed and taken out the head of Hezbollah. So, the world literally will now have to wait and see what the response will be. Obviously, it won't be the end of Hezbollah, but it will for sure be a massive morale dent for them, for Lebanon. And I think Netanyahu obviously will be kind of, tickety-boo sort of saying, see, this is what we need to do. But again, as we know, what is victory? What is victory? What do they mean when they say victory? Happy birthday, Jazz. Probably, Jazz, happy birthday. If you remind us whilst we're doing the Curly Cooks, it's probably a better place to sing your happy birthday. So we'll do that over there. Israel takes a deadly gamble in Lebanon and Gaza. Yeah, they certainly have. This is an image of Netanyahu holding up maps of the Middle East at the United Nations yesterday. And if you look at the maps, Palestine doesn't feature on any of them, which tells you pretty much everything you need to know. There you go, sort of, the curse, the blessing. These are the baddies. These are the goodies. This is us. But nowhere on those maps features Palestine, the West Bank, or Gaza. Telling to me. Hezbollah HQ hit, Israeli missiles level Lebanese militant group's base in Beirut. Of course, this news was happy birthday, Jaspal. These were the images from yesterday, but of course, overnight, it seems that another huge Beirut strike has taken out the head of Hezbollah. I mean, these kind of figureheads, when they get sort of taken out, there's always going to be someone to sort of replace them. So it's this kind of old-fashioned sort of almost Hollywood movie style approach to winning a war. It's like by taking this guy out, you haven't stopped the violence, you haven't stopped the conflict, you haven't removed the dilemma. So I mean, and now we really are sort of going to have to wait and see what Iran's response will be. What do people think? What do you think? Anyone here plugged into global politics? What do you think the response will be? From The Guardian, Israel launches heaviest air attacks on Lebanon. I mean, what we're seeing, I think, both in the Gaza, Palestine, West Bank situation and in the Lebanon situation is really Israel conflating, and there's a number of leading Israeli politicians simply conflating all Arabs as the enemy. It's like they don't really seek to distinguish between who they're fighting, who they're hitting, who the collateral damage is. And so it'll be interesting to see. Now they've taken out this guy at the head. Might they calm down? Might they stop? Might they then go to the negotiating table and potentially seek a ceasefire? As we know, the word ceasefire is a dirty word, isn't it? The word ceasefire is a dirty word to Netanyahu. Just can't do it. Just can't do it. So all the papers are carrying this. Israel says Nasrallah hit in Beirut bunker blitz. Netanyahu fires warning to tyrants of Tehran. This comes also a couple of days after Donald Trump said he's going to blow to smithereens Iran if it's true that they've been behind the assassination attempts on him. So yeah. What do we think? Well, not only in the hands of morons, we're also in the hands of psychopaths, sociopaths. And really, the fact of the matter is, he's an incredibly right-wing leader who has been pacified by the West. My God, that rings a bell. Hang on, I'm talking about Netanyahu here. That rings an enormous bell. I don't know where. But then moving on. So that's the news. And the biggest news, really, the papers are behind the news flow. The biggest news today is the fact that the head of Hezbollah, if you're just joining, has been declared dead by the IDF. I'm pretty certain they wouldn't be making this official statement if they weren't pretty confident. There hasn't been confirmation from Hezbollah or Lebanon. But we are literally on the precipice of this potentially going absolutely massive, for sure. So we all wait and see what Iran's response will be. Alison Barber, reports from Lebanon say families are turning up at A&E to find family members, but there are no bodies there. The bombs have vaporized them. Yeah, one of the other issues also in the death count also in Gaza is that the destruction is so complete. It kind of literally vaporizes people, some of these explosions, that you have no records of someone not being there. You know what I mean? So if there's no actual kind of bureaucratic record of you, there's no way of kind of counting you. Let's have a look, whenever Israel has wanted to end conflict, Israel simply pulls back or withdraws. Israel targets the leaders when it wants to extend the conflict. Good observation and a good point. So, what's on the front of the Sun today, guys? Prepare yourselves. It's Phil. Phillip Schofield, let's rip over TV acts. Philip, I was thrown under the bus. By who? Well, interestingly, jibes at co-host Holly and won't work for ITV. So apparently at the beginning of the documentary, or at the beginning of the show, before he sets off to go to his desert island to self-manipulate and self-flagellate and, I don't know, do things with him, do things on his own on an island with no crew there whatsoever. Apparently, as he's heading off, him and his family partake in a little bit of kind of light-hearted joshing about the "Are you okay? Hope you're okay," which I think is what Holly said to him. I hope you're okay. So I don't know. What do you think of this, guys? I find this slightly I find it already really unpalatable. That I think if he was to go on it and kind of just sort of take ownership of everything, but are we actually going to see him point the finger? Is there a bit of finger wagging going on here? When you throw someone under a bus, you need a bloody good reason, he says. All right. There are some channels and people you just won't work for. These are some of the quotes that are coming from the show. Okay, I suppose there are some.
That was in relation to the rumours that he's going to be on Love Island.
Yeah, so there are some channels you won't work for, but there are also some people who won't work with you, I guess. That might be the other part of the angle. When you throw someone under the bus, and the Sun is doing a sort of stellar job of really, I think it was wasn't it the Sun who did the infamous interview with him with the vape? And, wasn't it the sun that kind of really foregrounded the vape? The sun is really kind of in this and on this. And, it's curious, isn't it? There he is, looking a bit grizzly, a little bit kind of silver foxy, sort of slack jaw, looking out to sea. I mean, I tell you what, we might have to just watch this to look out for. I wonder how many looking out to sea shots we're going to have. How many shots are we going to, like on Married at First Sight, where they shoot the awful sequences where they finger with their sort of wedding ring, toying with the idea of whether they're going to commit or not. Are we going to have Philip kind of, with his cap and his cleft coconut about to swig it, just looking out? Why don't we have cliche count? Why don't we just have a cliche count where we're watching it? We go, bing, number one, bing, number two. So we've got all this to look forward to. There are bits of TV I don't miss. You learn a lot about people. Oh, that's interesting. There are bits of TV I don't miss. You learn a lot about people. Yeah, we haven't learned an awful lot about what really happened, though, have we? He's learned a lot about people, but we haven't really learned a thing, really.
I can't find the sausage maker.
Oh, yeah, if you dig out the sausage maker. Sausages. So
-11 for a special on sausages.
So he's having a bit of a whine. Here he is in the Daily Mail. I was so close to suicide, reveals Phil, TV's desert island castaway. So this is, this really is going to be his opportunity to share his own. Sharing his experience of what actually happened to him afterwards is going to be interesting, I guess. But my girls helped me step back from the edge, Schofield's despair. I just want to know how many people here are going to watch this. Who's going to? I feel ineluctably drawn to it like a fly to shit. I really do. I feel like a great big fat sort of, I don't know, blue bottle, and I'm looking at a great big turd in the corner, and I'm thinking, I've got to have a bit of that. That's how I feel. I almost feel like I've got to turn it on. I've got to land, and I've got to do my business. Absolutely, says Elaine Denning. No, not me, says Lee Durrant. Sharon Wilson says, I will. MeTube, how old is he? He's had a good life. Maybe he should retire. Not a chance. He's a donkey, says Elizabeth Murdoch Atkinson. Why is his story more important than the other person, says Catherine McLaughlin. Because no one else can talk. Well, because they can't actually talk about it. I think Schofield tied it all up, didn't he, with a mutually agreed non-disclosure agreement. So he can't talk about it. The other person can't talk about it. So I don't even know if he can talk about his relationship, can he? Can he talk about falling in love? I suppose he can talk about coming out. I suppose he can talk about the impact that had on his family. He can talk in the most abstract of ways, I guess, and impressionistic of ways about feelings. I think we're going to get a lot of feelings. I think we're going to get lots of vibes. I don't think we're going to get any. Maybe he's allowed a vape. Maybe are you allowed, like on Desert Island Discs, 3 items to take with you? Sort of like a vape. I don't know, a vape, a camera. I don't know. It's going to be like the Prince Andrew interview. Someone just said. No, I agree. Why does it have to be him on an island? Later, why can't he just sit there stripped back and tell his truth? Well, because he doesn't want anyone else asking the questions. This is a way of doing it without anyone else asking the questions, right? So, he thinks the public are morons, says Good Ship Lollipop. Oh, well, there we go. Well, anyway, we've got that to look forward to. I think it lands on Monday, doesn't it? It's so be prepared. I think we definitely should have we'll have a cliche bell where we just go clong. Can't wait to hear the music as it swells. Are we going to get shots? Do you think he's going to get shots of his footprints in the sand as the water from the sea soaks into them and makes them disappear? Like he's walked away from TV and there's no footprints left. I hope things like that. Van Gogh. Here we go again. 2 Just Stop Oil clowns jailed for throwing soup at sunflowers paintings. Then an hour later, 3 more are up to the same stunt. Do you think the original Just Stop Oil militants, as the Daily Mail is describing them, should have got 2 years in prison for throwing paint at the sunflowers? Now, I've got kind of conflicting emotions about this. I don't understand why they're hitting art. I genuinely don't understand why. I don't understand why they've hit art. It seems the oddest thing, unless you're just looking at art only as the preserve of the rich. And I mean, Van Gogh himself, wasn't responsible for the cost of them and all that kind of stuff. Van Gogh was into the natural world, so, and yet at the same time, the reason I feel slightly conflicted is the paintings are protected by glass. I think it's the frames that got damaged, so there was no actual damage on the actual painting. But because they're oil paintings, I don't necessarily think that's right. So I think we've said it so many times here. So agree with the entire eco argument around Just Stop Oil. I just feel like whoever is responsible for their sort of stunts, if you like, their priorities, it feels like they're just targeting the wrong things and the wrong people. I mean, is this headline and going to prison for 2 years, has that made anyone stop or do anything differently in their lives to stop the world burning? Has it? I don't know what would be the best way to protest. Chain yourself to the gates of Downing Street. Throw paint all over, I don't know, the offices of the companies that are kind of destroying the planet. I don't know. There must be. Zoe Agnew, I feel so bad for them getting so long. It's such long sentences. It's not fair. I don't think they should get a prison sentence at all. But I don't understand why. I don't understand why art. Siobhan Jordan, I'm with you. I admire their principles. I don't understand these actions. So let's just go through other headlines. Here they are. This was a can of soup that they splashed over them yesterday. Feels like internal sabotage. Someone somewhere make them look like clowns, and people won't listen to their actual important message. Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, right, okay. Look, there's another guy doing it. I can sense you're in a very Sarah D. Yeah, a little bit. Van Gogh soup jail revenge as 2 Just Stop Oil vandals cage, 3 others repeat stunt. I suppose we don't talk about art very much, do we, either? So maybe this is a way of talking about art. They could create a masterpiece themselves. They might have it in a gallery in 100 years. I totally agree, Zoe. They shouldn't be getting sentences at all, yet people like Hugh Edwards skips jails. It makes no sense. There's no consistency across the board, is there, with all sorts of kind of my thing is, I totally agree with their mission. I totally agree with what they're saying. And I don't necessarily entirely disagree with all of their protests, but this one just strikes me as just stupid. I just think it's stupid, attacking Van Gogh. But equally, I don't think they should be jailed. And also, the damage wasn't done to the actual artwork. That's the other bizarre part of it. There they are, sat in front of it. Oh, dear. How many more? Now it's revealed Starmer had another 16,000 clothes given to him. How are those sausages doing?
Yes, okay.
Sausages good?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, we'll return to the sausages later. Her aloofness was unparalleled, but Maggie Smith was every woman. Obviously, the wondrous actress, the dame, the grande dame of theatre, small screen, silver screen, you name it, passed away. Got some lovely images of her here. Do you remember that? That was one of her more recent sort of solo effort films, wasn't it? The Lady in the Van, which we saw. Which was great. And there she was in Downton Abbey. Really nice. Well, really
Prime of Miss Jean Brodie.
Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. She won an Oscar for that. Some beautiful photos. I just thought we could have a trot through these. What did you most like her in or for, guys? Lady in the Van was great, Reese, wasn't it? She was great in Harry Potter, wasn't she, as well? Of course. I mean, so many people will know her. The girls squealed when they said, "Oh, look, it's that woman from Harry Potter." And she was her acerbic wit. I always felt that her character in Downton Abbey was perhaps the closest to what she was like in real life. Sort of acerbic, tasty, funky one-liners. I like this image of her. I think it's rather beautiful. And I think she was that sort of generation where she didn't mind speaking her mind. So she ruffled feathers. She didn't suffer fools gladly. I mean, I'm not going to compromise the people I've spoken to, but some people who I know who did work with her said she was incredibly direct in her criticisms and her intolerance of let's say slightly muppety kind of members of crew and things like that. So she spoke her mind. She didn't suffer fools gladly. But yeah, she's died tragically at the age of 89. 89. Maggie Smith. Tributes paid to one of a kind in 7 decades on stage and screen. I think she won something like 5 BAFTAs. And I think she won 2 Oscars, and she was nominated about 6 times. 6 times. Remarkable, eh? Okay, so I'm going to move past. I pulled another story, but it's a bit depressing. So I'm going to move beyond that and keep it light. But it's a topic I really want us to talk about. Just quickly, just in case we were wondering whether Boris Johnson, should have been Prime Minister or was in any... Look at this headline. Boris's dramatic plan for military raid on Holland to snatch back our vaccines. He was seriously considering sending the army in to rescue vaccines from Holland. His memoirs have been published. That's enough on that. Tuition fees are to rise, but grants will return too. Yeah, look, the tuition fees are going to rise to 10,500 over the next 5 years, which is a ludicrous detail, really, because it's like Matthew Wright was saying on the radio today. They say that tuition fees are capped at 9,500 or whatever. No, they're not. Everywhere charges the maximum they can. That's it. They're not capped. It's not like there's a gradation. So this isn't going to rise to 10,500 in 5 years. This is going to rise to 10,500 immediately. So even larger tuition fees, even larger student loans. But the entire industry, the entire sector is in crisis. You know what? I think, does anyone else think this? I think the problem has emerged from society telling everyone they need to go there. So the industry has had to expand and now it wants to sustain itself. But I don't think we should have been driving so many people into higher education in the way that we have, or to do certain types of degrees. I think we've all talked about it. Lots of polytechnics should be back, different kind of colleges and courses and apprenticeships, not just degrees. It just strikes me as odd. And because we had that glut where Tony Blair said everyone should go to university, suddenly you have an industry that's like stretched and no institution wants to lose their people. And so they now need to charge more. It's just a self-fulfilling sort of bloated sector. Stacey Randall, that's incredibly kind and incredibly sweet. Thank you very much, Stacey. 10 of you are going to be gifted memberships. Police fobbing off. We'll move through that one. Look at this. Sexual act on airliner lands couple in court. Mile high club stuff going on here. Here's the couple in question. These two were caught getting up to some handy stuff. Anyway, they've both been awarded. The guy has been awarded 300 hours of community work. Apparently, people were on the flight. Kids, teenagers, adults, people could see what was going on. Can you believe that? What staggers me with things like that is how can you have such zero self-awareness of others? Whoever just said I'm intolerant of the world, I am today, Sarah D. Well, mind you, it's ridiculous. Guy Ritchie is in the news. He's been granted the right to dig his own ground. That's quite funny, isn't it? Mile High membership invalidated. Me too. Yeah, isn't the whole point of the Mile High Club that you don't get caught, you don't get charged, and you don't cause offence? Couldn't bloody wait. Exactly. Guy Ritchie, film director, former husband of Madonna. He secured the go-ahead for a burial plot in his country home. On this, would you like to be able to be buried in your garden? I think that would be a bit creepy myself. Imagine that. Nanny Di's often said, Mark, put me under that tree over there. I never quite know which tree she's pointing at. But, would you want, I don't know. Would you want your relative? I don't know. I think it would be a bit perturbing. It's always a bit unnerving when I know that you've buried like a dead guinea pig from years ago, and then you're digging up a part of the garden and you think, what the hell am I going to find? And I'm worried I'm going to enter some kind of, revenge of the walking guinea pig. Do you get me? I guess it's the thrill. Yeah, no, you're right. What the Mile High thing? So that's Guy Ritchie he's been given permission. He's won permission to build a burial plot in his country home to cement the family's tie to the land. God, that feels deeply narcissistic, doesn't it? This was my land, so that when it's sold on, people go, what knob lived here before? Oh, him. Oh, right, the guy directed that. Yeah, right. I like this story. I had to do it in two parts. Over 70s seethe at younger people's age-splaining. Right. This is I like this. Now, men are constantly told off for mansplaining. It's a constant refrain. Could you mind not mansplaining? There's this idea that women don't mansplain too. Womansplaining. Everyone over-explains. It's called passive. It's called being passive-aggressive. But this is an important one. This one, apparently, over 70s are seething. 11% of people over 70 said they're regularly spoken to as if they're a child or an idiot.
Yeah.
Do you get that? I'd go further than that. And I'm not throwing any of my children under the bus here, but at the age of 53, I already feel like younger adults look at you like, oh, come on, are you with it? Get with it, like you haven't lived 53 years. Does anyone else get this? Age-splaining. I know what they mean. I mean, the weird thing about it is, though, there's a difference between age-splaining and then talking slowly and clearly for someone who hasn't got their ears in or can't hear, or like Nanny Di sometimes, she can hear. I do think there's a bit of selective hearing in older people, though. I think maybe some of the youngsters who are age-splaining know that really their elders are being a little bit kind of playing fast and loose with what they do and don't understand, maybe. 11% of over 70s said they're regularly spoken to like they're a child. 5% felt infantilized almost daily. Did you get this, anyone? 44% of those who said they'd experienced age-splaining defined as when people knowingly adjust the way they talk or explain something to people so that in a way that they can be understood. Is that familiar? It left them feeling older than they are. I hate that. 17% said it rocked their confidence, while the same percentage said it had contributed to a loss of self-identity. Is this relatable? Since COVID, the kids' social interaction needs discussing. I feel like my in-laws in their 70s talk down to me, Sarah D. Oh. Teresa A. Yes, I agree, Mark, especially when young people call you love. You're right, love. Reese, that's a good question. How do you feel about being in your 50s? Do you ever think to yourself, is this real because you feel super young? Yes, every minute of every day, every second of every minute, every second of every second. As a child to older parents, I try my best, says Ramona, not to, because I notice that when I do it, they play dumber, even more to piss me off. So in keeping with Michelle Obama's line, you play dumb, you go dumb, they get dumber still. No, you play dumb, they play dumber. I know what you mean. I have to confess, and I am throwing you a little bit under the bus here, Mum. I do think old people play it. They do go, because they can't be bothered to understand. Is that true? Sometimes I find older people just can't be bothered to understand. They don't make the effort to understand. It's not about not being able to understand. They fully understand when it's something they need. Sorry, I'll calm down now. Brian May has quit the RSPCA because he's not happy with some of the farms that they're supporting. Don't know why I pulled that. 3,000 made ill by Ozempic this year, reminding us, don't do drugs, guys. They hurt. Even if they make you lose weight. Most drugs do, and they're all bad. What a surprise, hey? Nearly 3,000 Brits reported side effects from fat-fighting jabs in the first 20 weeks of this year. Is it me, or does it feel like where the drugs really matter, for instance, not making light at all, but of something like Enhertu, the campaign that Nadia's been working on, you can't get them. But then where drugs are kind of don't really matter, like with Ozempic and whatever the drugs in vapes are and all these kind of things, everyone, it's fine, take them, use them, even though they're damaging. almost doesn't matter, does it? It's weird. The wrong drugs seem to kind of get through. The average cost of a kid's party is £524. Apparently, kids' birthday parties are often more lavish these days. With a poll founding, they cost an average of £524. And if you add to that this £442 per child uniform costs, the moral of the story is don't have kids, guys. Don't have kids. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. I like this one. This is a funny story, this one. Shop horror. What do you think this could be relating to? What do you think? Oh my God, this is bizarre. These are the top 14 things we cringe the most over when we buy them. What do you think we cringe? What do you think is top of the list of items that when we buy them, we don't want anyone to know we're buying them? For me, it's a packet of 4 custard tarts. I think if I see them in someone's basket, I think, you greedy fucker, you're going to go and scoff those. So that's something that I get a little bit embarrassed about buying, is too many custard tarts. Oh, Reese has gone straight for the killer. Condoms, says Reese. Sausages, how are those sausages, by the way? Yeah. Oh, good. We're talking condoms over here. It just put me in mind of it. That's all. Tampax, says Nora Doyle. Okay. If anyone just came in on this live not knowing what the context was, it would be a bit weird. Lube, says Siobhan Jordan. Okay. Monster Munch, Steph Schultz. Oh, MeTube, it's the 4 eclairs with me. Okay, MeTube, I'm going to ask you a killer question. Have you bought 4 chocolate eclairs and just eaten them all in one go before you've got them home and then got rid of the receipt? Just asking. I'm only asking for a friend. It's a busy old front door today, isn't it? So the top 14 things that people... Yes, MeTube, you've done it. The top 14 cringe-worthy buys are condoms at 45%. You were right, Reese. Lubricant at 28%. This list doesn't apply to Puff Daddy, obviously. So condoms, lubricant. Number 3 is thrush cream. Number 4 is hemorrhoid cream. Number 5 is... There's a clear theme here. Number 6 is tampons. Number 7 is pregnancy tests. Intimate wipes. Oh, I don't even want to say some of the other. None of those are surprising. Beware, the rain brings with it soggy rats. Invasion of the soggy rats. Flushed out rodents will flood homes. You know what? Their homes have been flooded. So where do they go? Under your cooker and under your washing machine. So be careful. They're the size of horses. This is quite arresting. This is someone relaxing on a beach called West Bay in Dorset, and they're relaxing on a beach where there had been a cliff fall just a couple of weeks ago. How could one relax under that? I'm not saying vaginal moistening out loud, MeTube. I did it because I knew she wasn't in the room. Look, there they are. Look, just kind of look at that. Look, just lying back underneath the arches. I pulled this just because it made me laugh. Jeremy Clarkson says, I'd love to do a Schofield, find an island and hide. But actually, he was doing a piece about, that's one of the pieces at the Turner Prize. You know, I mean, for instance, why maybe Just Stop Oil should throw some oil over that? Not suggesting it. But would there be, it's interesting though, isn't it? If they did, there wouldn't be as much of an outcry, would there? Because people would go, that shit art. And in fact, you could argue that the paint makes it more arty than it is. It's a thought. It's contentious. It goes against everything in my fibre about what makes art, but there we go. Here's an image of Daniel Craig. He's definitely on one. Look at him with his cool baggy pantaloons. Look at that jumper. He's having an absolute fashion makeover. Rachel Weisz is like, I'm here for the ride. Yeah, we'll just let him do this for another couple of years, and then I'll get rid of that jumper. But you know what? Good on him. He's just giving it some with his curtain hair locks and all the rest of it. For Michael's 80th, Catherine Zeta-Jones gets into her birthday suit. She posted this. Oh, how sweet. In my birthday suit, after over 25 years of sharing my birthday with my husband, I'm running out of gift ideas. So this is gift option 2. Golf balls being option 1, of course. What are golf balls? How are those sausages? Sausages all right? Coming along lovely. And this is an image that's going to really frustrate those on podcasts because, it's a deer with its tongue sticking out and a head full of ferns. It's great. Oh, look at him. Just sticking his tongue out. So sweet. Meanwhile, Peter, anyone here know a chap called Peter Glazebrook? Anyone know a chap called Peter Glazebrook? Here he is. Let's show you Peter Glazebrook. Very, very happy looking chap. He's the guy on the left, by the way. I think that's an onion. It's an enormous onion. UK National Giant Vegetable Championships. I don't know why. I feel like we need to take Dina there next year.
Where?
To the UK National Giant Vegetable Championships in Malvern. Yeah. And finally, to say goodbye, there's an enormous seal. River Stour, Ramsgate. Apparently, the number of grey harbour eels in the Thames estuary is growing in recent years. And that seal there looks like a sausage. And that's all I'm saying. If you feel we've overdone the sausage gags, you've not seen anything yet. In 25 minutes, we're going to go big. I mean, we're going to go big, we're going to go fat, we're going to go thick, and we're going to get sausagey. Anyway, guys, there's your news. Have a lovely 25 minutes before we see you over there for the Curly Cooks of Sausage.